People seem to be drawn to one who is centered in the way, for that person is harmless and peaceful. When the mind is centered within the world, then people are only interested in food or music and being entertained. To them, the way seems dull and without flavor, because there is nothing to see and nothing to hear with the senses. However, fulfillment from the way is inexhaustible. Notice how when things are overexpanded, they begin to shrink. When overstrengthened, they begin to weaken. When over-promoted, they begin to be rejected. Also notice how to receive something is first allow it to be given, and choose to give without expecting something in return. Noticing things is understanding the subtle way or the nature of life. Notice how soft water can wear down hard rocks, and the flexible lasts longer than the inflexible. Just as fish should not be taken out of deep waters, the advantages of a nation should be kept obscure, and a nation should not display their power or weapons. Wise ones do not make their strengths obvious. The invisible way of life might seem to be inactive, and yet notice how things continue to grow and everything gets done. If leaders observed the way of life, all things would develop more naturally. If first centered in the nameless and formless, their actions would come from the simplicity of no desire. Without wants, there is tranquility, and within tranquility, there is peace. Without desire, a natural harmony can stabilize things. Those who are wise do not force their power, and thus have power. They act without motive. Those influenced by the world make plans and act with force. Those who are evolved appear to do nothing and yet leave nothing undone. Those influenced by the world seem to be doing things, and yet much remains undone. A kind person acts without an end in view. A righteous person has an end in view. When no one responds, a disciplinarian attempts to force their views. Thus, when the natural way is lost, power follows. When power does not work, righteous strategies follow. When righteous actions do not work, morality begins. And when morality does not work, memorized rituals and social manipulation appear. Forced obedience is the dry husk of natural loyalty. Learned opinions are the barren flowers of natural kindness. Thus, without motives, evolved ones open to the natural inner fruit rather than focusing on the outer covering. Long ago, that which arose from the One was whole. The heavens were whole and pure. The earth was whole and stable. Spirit was whole and strong. Valleys were whole and full. Through wholeness, all things were alive. And when leaders were whole, their harmony with the people gave them natural authority. Without what keeps it pure, the heavens would degenerate. Without what keeps it steady, the earth would shake. Without what keeps it vibrant, spirit would diminish. Without what quickens life, all things would die. Without harmonious leaders, a country would perish. Humility is at the root of true nobility. Those of higher status depend on those who live a common life. Thus, leaders who can identify with the orphans, widows, and less fortunate understand how the needs of the people are their own. Remembering the whole helps them remain grounded and rooted in the needs of the whole community. Thus, evolved ones understand how too much success is not an advantage. Rather than sparkling like polished jade, they understand that the jade's true strength is in its being a stone. The movement of the way comes from polarity or opposite extremes balancing themselves. Receptivity to the way comes from remaining open and yielding as needed. All things come into existence and return to non-existence. This is the way of life. Follow the natural flow of the way. Enlightened ones hear of the way and practice embodying it. Ordinary people hear of the way and give it thought now and then. Closed people hear of the way and laugh or mock it. Would it be the mystery of life if it were easy to understand? Thus it seems that the bright path is dark and obscure. Going forward feels like going backward. The easy way seems difficult. What's ample doesn't seem like enough. the greatest clarity seems confusing, and true virtue seems unrealistic. Understanding the way, the greatest space has no edges. The greatest music is rarely heard. The greatest wisdom cannot be defined. The way is hidden and without limits, and yet it begins, sustains, and brings everything to fulfillment.